Some new items were added in the display of the Takara Tomy Transformers 40th Anniversary Expo, the Transformers Expo happening again this weekend in Japan. And we got our first look, as well as a teaser of some future Transformers Missing Link items. And these are wow. On display this weekend, we have the Missing Link convoys, the Bumblebee, the Cliff Jumper, as well as their prototypes and all kinds of stuff. But we also got a prototype of the next Missing Link entry, and that is Missing Link CO5 Sunstreaker. So this comes hot off the heels of the interview with Kobayashi-san saying that we're going to start shifting away from the car robots and doing more interesting stuff and Missing Linky kind of related stuff to that brand. But I think in the case of this Sunstreaker, and especially in the case of Japan, this is something that's special for them. And that's why I think they want to do Sunstreaker, despite that they want to kind of move away from the car robots. For one, Sunstreaker, or at least his mold, the Diaclone car robot #1 Countach LP500S, was the very first Transformer toy designed by the legendary Takara designer and godfather of Transformers, Kojin Ono. It was the very first one he ever made. So there's already that special part going on with this character and this tooling. But there's actually much more going on there too in terms of like importance for Japanese fans. In Japan in 1985, when Transformers G1 debuted, Sunstreaker, his version, was only available in a special expensive box set that also came with Skids and Buzzsaw, which also that was the only way to get those two characters too, making him really tough to get in Japan, and his secondary market population in that country extremely limited. Add to the fact that while Generation 1 Sunstreaker was sold en masse in America, in the West, and in Canada in 84 and 85, and of course saw a European release with the G1 Classics Hero Series in 1990 for that tooling itself ended up completely being lost by both Takara and Hasbro in their archives. Thus, when Takara started doing those book box reissue lines in the early 2000s and Hasbro with the commemorative series, they could not do anything with Sunstreaker because they couldn't find his tooling. Completely lost to the ages. And that was that. And so for the longest time, the only way you could get an original G1 Sunstreaker anything was that small window of time that his toy was available before the turn of the century. And that was it. And how many of those were in good condition? And how many of those were complete? So now, all that being told, we have something that's a very important release on multiple levels, not just for fans here in the West, but also for fans in Japan, which it was even harder for them to try to get this guy. So this new Missing Link version does, again, a great job of taking that old G1 toy and bringing it to the modern age with a whole new tooling from the ground up. So we got, a new head, shoulders, elbows, wrists, hips, even ankle tilts for articulation, where the original toy just didn't have that mobility because of, a lot of the G1 toys, their articulation was more dictated because it was part of their transformation, not just an extra wrinkle for display's sake. And that just comes from the Diaclone and Microman origins, if anything, from the late 70s. While you do see that he does have his yellow shoulder missiles on the robot mode here, as well as those plug-in fists, we don't see his chrome hand missiles, I guess we'll call them, that the original toy had. No doubt they'll be included. We just don't see them here in this display. But I do wonder what extras will be included with him, because much like we saw with, let's say, the Bumblebee or the Cliff Jumper, where those were given extra weapons or accessories, I imagine they'll do something like that too here. I mean, this figure originally didn't even have any peg holes on his hands to hold weapons, and now this one does. So if he has peg hole hands in his, that means he's going to be holding a gun. And I think that he probably will get the gun that he had in the original G1 cartoon, and that was actually a gun that was also included as a bonus with his Masterpiece release. So I could see them including that as a little extra too, to just really cement in, a little bit of animation accuracy and fun to give it a bonus to this figure. Personally, I get that Missing Link is not for everybody, but as an old head of the fandom like I am, I love this kind of stuff, and it's a very emblematic choice by picking Sunstreaker as the next release. So that's great for the 40th anniversary, and I think that's awesome, and I look forward to seeing more of it. Makes me wonder, though, Sunstreaker had a lot of parts forming with his transformation. I wonder if they're going to somehow figure out a way to tuck in those wrists or anything. I'm pretty sure they'll figure out something. Next up, we have a teaser for our next Missing Link, and it's that of something that was on display on the show at TF Expo, and something that we talked about pretty much tongue-in-cheek predicting just a few days ago through that Kobayashi interview. Missing Link versions of characters from Generation 1 that didn't get Generation 1 toys back then, maybe? Like, let's say a DevCon with a classic version of that? Or Arcee? Are we going to dig up that old Arcee prototype and kind of make a modernish kind of version that still has the essence of Generation 1? So, like I said, the TF Expo had on display the legendary gray prototype of the 1986 G1 Arcee figure. And they even had a little sign next to it, and that sign said, "New development. In 1986, a foam prototype was made, but unfortunately, development was halted and the product was never released. Based on the materials of that time, we considered restoring it for the Missing Link line." The gray prototype exhibited alongside the original products here today does not have a transformation mechanism. It is just a mock-up of the shape. We are currently working hard to implicate a transformation mechanism reminiscent of the time and the movable joints reminiscent that represent the Missing Link line. Stay tuned for this unprecedented restoration project. We could even be calling this Transformers Archaeology. So that's great. That means that they're going to take that original Arcee prototype, that shape, that form, and turn it into a Missing Link product. And that is pretty hype. You know, this was what I was hoping Missing Link would be doing from the beginning, taking those old G1 prototypes, unearthing them, the ones that never got to be product, and making them a reality in the modern era. And the G1 prototype Arcee is not like any other Arcee either, because she kind of has her own unique style and look to her. First up, she had two different colors. She had her prototype colors, and then you have her show colors. Not to mention her design itself is unique to the prototype, being based off of that super early Fluoro-Deary G1 design where the shoulder pads were in the front. There's different kinds of shape to her. And I mean, those shoulder pads normally were seen on the back, almost like a backpack design for the Arcee that we know today. And this design obviously would evolve into the design that we are more familiar with Arcee, but we would see that Fluoro-Deary early design used, you know, sparingly in the Marvel comics here and there in some shape or form. It would go on and off. And of course, oddly, even more so, the G1 Season 3 episode of Only Human used a lot of those early Fluoro-Deary animation models, and for some reason, whatever, Arcee sported that look the whole episode. ACOM Studios in Season 3 G1 has always been weird, and it's always been like that episode to episode, but it's so weird that just for that one episode, Arcee had that design. Very funny. So right out of the bat, you know, you have a lot of stuff you could do here with this Arcee. You could do a Missing Link C06 Arcee prototype colors, and it could be just the raw figure, the more affordable release of the two. No extras, no bells and whistles, just the prototype colors, and that's that. And then you could do a Missing Link C07 Arcee anime colors, include two guns, you know, have her anime colors, maybe even include a little Daniel statue figurine, little non-articulated something. So there's already two releases you could get out of that too, just for all the effort and time to do the tooling. Either way, again, this is exactly what I want from the Missing Link line. And now that the door is open with this Arcee here, like I said in the past segment, give me that G1 1986 Unicron. Make it happen. Do it. Do it. Make it happen. Anyways, this is amazing news, and we ain't done yet today because it's also Friday, early Friday, and we have the Hasbro Pulse Con that's going to be happening later today at 3 p.m., and we got some more reveals to talk about, so stay tuned here today on the Transformer Slag podcast, and we'll keep you educated, entertained, and informed on our hobby. Thank you again for listening, and we'll talk to you in the near future.